Huh. Interesting. It is daily game design time. I actually think I should probably find something else to say. I don't know why that doesn't seem like it should be that hard to say, but for some reason, especially earlier in the morning, and honestly, it sometimes is the first thing I say, like the first thing I say of the day. Um, for some reason, it's just a risk. Daily game design with Cabletop Games. Anyway, I surfed for the first time in a little while. Actually, I surfed Kewalos for the first time in a while, and uh, man, it felt good. It was really fun to be out there. The waves were like perfect for me. I'm not good at surfing. I'm much better than I was like 3 years ago, maybe. But I don't surf very often. Um, I I have intentions to. I mean, it's one of those things like that. It's available. I have a board given to me by great friends, and I really should get out there and do it. Um, but there's just some obstacle. There's some plan in the evening. Oh, I'm working on this thing in the afternoon. That it's just easy to make excuses. Actually, this was kind of a funny thing. So I think I caught maybe 4 waves, 4 or 5 waves in the it was about an hour I was out there. I forget. I think we got down there a little after 6, and it was beautiful, a beautiful evening. Sunset was amazing. It's just a cool setting. Um, you're out in the water. You've got people around that are just like they're like beautiful people that are doing something cool. They're just like cruising by you, like looking awesome. And then and you've got turtles popping up occasionally. Saw a couple big ones yesterday. And you can just kind of chat with people just a little bit and connect a little bit out there. And then there's of course the challenge of being in the right place, waiting for the right wave to come through, dealing with a little bit of the traffic out there. Sunset was amazing. It was really bright. The sky was clear. There was just some clouds along the rim, along the edge of the earth down there, like by the horizon, and so that just kind of lit things up in a really cool way. I'm out there with Kenna and with a couple other people I guess I didn't really recognize too many other people. I don't surf that much, but anyway, I think it was like wave 3 or 4, whichever was the penultimate wave. It took me in further than I had been going in up to that point, and I thought, wow, I'm pretty tired. Like I said, I don't surf that often, so and actually these days I really don't exercise that often. So I was pretty gassed after like the second wave. I was like, I need a break. Because one of my frustrations for a long time was not really understanding just like setting a pace for myself. So, like, paddle out, and then a nice wave would come by. I'd turn around, I'd try to get in line real quick and turn around, and then, or try to get aligned real quick. And I'd paddle for the wave, but I would be tired. I wouldn't be in the right spot. And so the wave would shove me forward, but I wouldn't catch it. And so I'd lose some ground that way. And then I'd have to paddle back out and do the whole thing again. So now I understand, at least for me and my body at this moment, it's just best if I paddle out, I rest for a while, maybe hop off my board, stretch, maybe swing my arms around just to get the blood flow going, and just wait. Like, take a break, pause for a while, get my strength back up, and then when another set comes through, then take, one of those waves. Anyway, so it's kind of nice to get to know the system a little bit for myself. But by wave 3 or 4, whichever was second to last, I went in further than usual, and and I thought to myself, wow, this would be a decent time just to go back to shore. Just paddle in. I don't feel like paddling out. But the thing is, I've been doing um some experimentation with my self-talk these days. And I wonder if you've been doing the same thing. And in fact, I kind of wonder in general if you have any like turning points or changes in perspective that that really helped you particularly. I have a few. If I think of them at the right time, I may mention them. But in this case, I've been practicing this a little bit more recently. Where okay, so I get I'm pretty close to shore. It'd be the easiest thing in the world just to paddle in and end the evening on a good wave. Totally cool. But then I knew Kenna was still out there. I knew there's still plenty light, and I thought, yeah, I feel like going in. But, and this is where the self-talk kicked in, I said, I'm the kind of guy that would catch one more wave. Like I didn't feel like that at all. I didn't feel like catching one more wave. But I said, I'm the kind of guy who would go out and catch one more wave. So, I got myself together, paddled slowly out, just enjoying the atmosphere, enjoying the sunset. The water was warm. People are just kind of hanging on. Light is it's definitely dusk at this point, and just enjoying the setting. I finally got back out, and some waves came through. I actually never really caught a great one back. I think there was one with some decent whitewash that I stood up on or something. But the point was, and then Kenna, actually it was cool because the timing of Kenna and I being out there, we got to chat a little bit, and then because he usually goes out way deeper than I do, I stay inside most of the time because I'm not trying to catch the bigger waves. So we finally got to chat out there for a little while, and then we caught the same wave back in, and it was a great ending to the evening. And the key moment was telling myself, I'm the kind of guy that can go out and catch one more wave. And I've been doing this more often. I'd love to get out and get some more exercise. I'd like to eat better. I'd like to stop drinking. I need to water my weed. I need to stop. It'd be better if I stopped drinking sweet drinks. And so recently I said to myself, I'm the kind of guy that doesn't really like soda. I don't know what this is called. I know this is like somehow establishing things on the level of identity. This is a very powerful thing. I don't know if it's a powerful thing because of the generational situation we're in. I feel like identity has become more important than it would have been previously. So I'm kind of curious. I mean, there's no way to do this sociologically to like check. Would this same type of self-talk exercise affect somebody, who was in their prime in the 1920s or in the 1810s or something like that? Would positive self-talk have such an effect? I kind of think it wouldn't. I feel like identity has become more and more important to people. But it's possible that it would have had an impact. So anyway, I've been doing these things. Even what was another one? Oh yeah, like if I'm interested in somebody and they're not interested in me, which is generally the case, unfortunately. I'm having to start to practice like I'm the kind of guy who can wait. I'm the kind of guy who doesn't need to be texted back right away. I'm the kind of guy who can, just enjoy this season of my life, whether or not I find a partner. Like, I'm that kind of guy. So I just wonder if there have been any revelations for you. I think another one, this is back to the idea of remembering that I actually have a list of these little changes. I didn't write them down. I actually wish I had journaled. I used to journal regularly, but I haven't in a long time. But another one was saying like finding a way to be more positive in my thinking. It's now I say things like, Um, like that's not my favorite. That's not my favorite option. It's not. I don't like it. It's just not my favorite. or, or, or that's probably my least favorite type of, I don't know, popsicle or candy, or that's my least favorite type of sauce. you know, rather than saying I don't like that. Um, Another one that was huge for me, and I can't say when this one developed. I feel like it was after college, maybe grad school time. You know what? I really am. I really am gonna go get some water, and I can wait. I just need to remember to do it. Um, Another one was to say was to for my most common response to say, "Oh, that's interesting," and that's interesting has become a really really powerful tool for me. And those of you who know me know that I will say that's interesting very regularly. I've had people kind of joke, that understand that I do that, and they'll joke about it because they realize it's definitely one of my go-to responses. Oh, that's interesting, or they might think of that as like my tagline. Oh, that's interesting, and and what that little phrase has done for me is it allows me to create some emotional distance from whatever it is that I've just heard and really consider it. Because I feel like saying that's interesting is a pretty neutral way to take something on board and just like consider it, think about it for a little while. Uh, oh, that's interesting. I some people might see that as like that's not. It's a little lower than 50%. Like it's not supportive. It's less than supportive. So, but it's not critical exactly, but it's just definitely not supportive. So they might think of it as like instead of 50% neutral, like exactly neutral. They might think of it as 40%. It's not super negative, but it's definitely not like in the positive, right? But anyway, so it allows me to create some distance between me and that whatever that claim was, whatever that observation was, really process it. And to the point that what I recognized is to say for me to say that's interesting is actually um, a way of holding that object in my mind and actually treating it as if it's real, as if it's worth considering. So to say that's interesting is actually me saying, it's not just avoidant. That also might sound like that. It's not just like padding. It's not just soft gloves. It's like, no, I think that's interesting. So I'm gonna think about it. I'm gonna spend some of my life's time and energy on whatever that thing was that you just said. That's interesting. Um, and I've taken that so seriously that I just realized that one of the most um, disparaging things I can say is that's not interesting to me. Like that's me saying there is no life there. There is nothing worth considering there. And for me that's a big deal because I tend to be an ideator. I tend to be somebody that processes things um not thoroughly, but like I spend time on them. So some people say deep or whatever that means. But I do, uh, you know, I definitely um, live in my head, and that is a superpower. It's also a weakness, but it tends to be a superpower for me that I can process things in a very specific way from my own perspective, but with productive outcomes. So if I say that's not interesting, I'm not willing to spend my life's time and energy on that. That's really like a big deal to me. I know it might not sound like that big of a deal, but it's a big deal to me if I say something like that. Um, so Anyway, I think the last one I'll mention before I shift over to actual design is I remember before going to high school, because I lived at high school. This was a boarding academy, boarding school. I think I'd gotten some feedback from my parents, and maybe I don't know a couple others, but that in late elementary school that I'd become more serious for some reason. Um, and I don't know if that was true. I don't know. Actually, I really don't remember the context for this adjustment, but I looked at myself. I remember being in the bathroom. I looked at myself in the mirror and I promised myself I would smile more, that I would smile more. And I think, I do tend to be a little more, um, I don't feel like I'm straight faced or enigmatic or something like that. I feel like my face tends to be more neutral somehow, or I'm not super expressive. I don't feel like I am, I don't. I feel like maybe I don't show a lot on my face. I'm not too sure. Maybe you have some other feedback, but for some reason I felt at that time that I was just too serious, that I wasn't playful enough, and so I promised myself I would smile more. That was right before going to high school. I think there will have been a benefit to that. I'm not too sure, but that seems like that was an important turning point for me. Um, but anyway, part of the self-talk, that I started with, is what produced this. Is kind of what produced this routine of trying to wake up. Shifting my sleep, right? Waking up earlier, doing things early in the morning. This has been a really positive change for me, and it's one of those things where it's like, I was really grateful to use my my sleep changes, the jet lag from China this year, to really try to make some important adjustments that I knew needed to be made, and it was just a good time to do it. And now and I was motivated to do this design and make progress on these designs early in the morning. And now I have the tech, I have the resources to stream, and it's just been super super fun. But I think, like, shifting my sleep and setting some goal around building a routine has been one of those really fundamental things. Like, it's hard to understate this. Like, this is a big deal. This is a complete life change. If I stick with this, and I intend to, going to bed earlier, waking up earlier, if I do this, this means Scott Cable is different now. And then that's crazy to me, because this is such a good thing. To be, yeah, just getting to bed earlier, waking up earlier. Um, it's been really rewarding, and it's beyond productivity. That's not the point. It's the kind of thing which communicates to me that I can do it, that I can make a change that I know is important, and that I should. So that's a really big deal. I mean, sleep is important, and I always took sleep. Like, the reason that I couldn't sleep earlier is that I couldn't shut my mind off. I couldn't. I hated just laying in bed, being awake. You know, I hated what would happen if I slept early and then I woke up in the middle of the night and then I'd be up for 2 hours, sleep again, wake up again, be up for an hour. Like, I hated that. And so I just let myself go, sleeping later and later and later, to the point that I was sleeping easily around 2 a.m. You know, and this would even be sometimes like I'd have to try to sleep before 1 so that I wouldn't be crazy tired when I went to school the next day. Like, it's stuff like that. Like, Scott, just go to sleep. But I can't. I couldn't do it. I needed this shock to my system, a reset button where I could do it in a more gradual, more natural way. So anyway, super pumped about that. If you've listened this long, or if you've been paying attention at all, I'm just curious, what is a fork in the road for you? What was a fundamental change that you're really happy with, you're really proud of? Something that changed even your personality, changed the way you live your life. I'd love to hear about it. But yeah, I'll shift over to actually looking at Sugar Shack now. Happy to do that. Yeah, I think I noticed that the stream, I don't know, I wondered if my phone got overheated and so that's why it would drop the connection sometimes. I'm really hoping that this is a solid stream that I can get all the way through. I'm going to text a friend back really quick. EGA. I wonder if I should turn my phone screen off. I wonder if that would help a lot. Yeah, why do I leave my phone screen on? I wonder, because it does get hot, and that's one of the main things that happens here. Yeah, it's literally happening right now. Shoot. I wonder if turning my fan on it will help. Don't you dare. Don't you dare cut out on me. Oh, man. I wonder if it's like... I'm going to try to cool it down and see if that helps. So we just got a loss in quality. Okay, the quality's back. Yeah, I wonder if... So also, what I don't know is how whether using my phone during the stream is interruptive. It might be. So I should be more careful about that. Anyway, the quality should be back. The stream connection... Oh, no, similar again. Yeah, this is a shame. Okay, the health is back up. I wonder if there's a way that I can... I wonder if there's a way I can set it up by the fan up here. I don't know if that would help or not. Maybe just kind of stick it. This is funny. Okay, I know this is goofy, but I want to figure this out. That's the worst, when the stream just cuts out for no good reason. So what I'm going to try to do is stick the phone back here, see if that cools it down a little bit. I don't know. Because I've got it, I've got the fan pointed at the laptop. Now it's taking some of that breeze from the laptop. See how that goes. We should be back. Yes, okay, so YouTube's back, Twitch is doing okay. That's really funny. Okay. Anyway, thanks for your patience on that. Okay, so Sugar Shack. one of the goals here, one of the main challenges, is trying to figure out what happens now. Like I made this little change. What happens now that I've got this different action type system? So these are action tokens that get spent. The way they get spent, this is actually something I wanted to show you. I think I'd have to go to some older Sugar Shack stuff. I'm gonna try this one. I do feel like I make funny faces while I'm streaming, and I can't really help it. Okay, it's not this one. One of the best changes I made was splitting the cards that are portrait and landscape. Okay, yes, it's here. Okay, so here's the difference. Let me just pick one of these that is okay. Yeah, because I made a rule book and I used this file to like show how to set things up. All right, so so this is a layout. Yeah, because I would have shown like kind of layout experiments with TTS open, Tabletop Simulator, but I'm not opening that today. So these are most of the cards. Actually, they're all the cards. That's cool. Except for the community projects. So the big question is how to arrange these cards so that the cost kind of makes sense, right? That's the big question. How to arrange these so that the cost makes sense. Looks like Facebook is kind of... Huh. YouTube's good. Twitch looks good. Now Facebook is struggling. That's weird. I don't like this. Because the this connection is good. I don't really want to drop it. Like it says it's good, but it's showing that it's not. I think if I refresh like I just did, I think that's bad news. It should give me the same. Yeah, it is the same stream. But now what does it say? I don't know what's going on. Yeah, I think I might have just messed up. It's interesting it says that Twitch and Facebook are still going, but wow. I think I'm just gonna let Facebook go on this one, because the other two are still going strong. So I don't know. That's frustrating. Okay. So this is the main thing I was considering. It is how much should each of these things cost, right? How expensive should it be to activate one of these buildings? And I'm not sure how to evaluate this appropriately. Let's say, for example, right now, originally the way that this grid was set up is that the right side would be stable. Like the right side is just, that's the, you know, these 4 cards in this order, that's how that's how the game works. And then the 4 on the left side would be randomized. And that's where some of the variability would come from, and it would kind of force you to think a little differently and try some different try to focus on some different things depending on how far away those buildings were from your sugar shack. But now we don't need that. So I'm gonna do some rearranging here. So this is a, actually I wonder if I should go and look. I can bring some of these in if they have changed. So what's another big difference here? Syrup Ink, is Syrup Ink not in there? Okay, Syrup Ink is not in there. So let me just screenshot that real quick. So this is all just to start thinking this through again. It's just an example, right? So I'm just going to drop this in and try to get the sizing kind of right. Add a little frame for some continuity. Okay, so here is, I can grab the other one too then, the community projects. Oh, the town festival? Was the town festival there? What in the world? What? Oh, okay, I know what's going on. Town Fest. Oh, the Town Festival is the opposite side of the bank, so that doesn't need to be in there anyway. And then the community projects. That's the main one. That's right here. This, I think, was one of the most important changes in the community projects, because it offers another win condition. So that was a pretty big deal. Okay. So now this should be all the cards. I believe that's everything. Okay, so this was the original setup. And so you would travel, you would take 3 steps into town if you had the basic side of your garage facing up, like the basic vehicle, or you could take 4 steps into town if you had the upgraded vehicle. So that was like your action economy. That was, you know, how that was how much you could get done on your turn, was like 3 steps or 4 steps, something like that. The reason that worked as an idea, I don't think it maybe it wasn't that fun, but it actually was functional. And it's nice that fun is actually a part of functional. The reason that worked is because even if you couldn't use the buildings that you were stepping into, even if that wasn't, you know, you didn't want to activate those buildings, you could take a Sugar Shack action instead. That was the concept, and that's actually what you see on these cards. So you would be moving your pawn, right? You'd move your pawn onto the space, and you could either activate the building You could either activate the building that you landed on, or sorry, in the tier that you landed, or you could take a Sugar Shack action. That's why there's the little shack, the little cabin down here. That's why there's like the big city buildings up there. You could either, it was an either or. So even if the tier wasn't useful to you, taking a Sugar Shack action should be useful to you. You could always get a little money if there was nothing else to do in the Sugar Shack. So I think that was functional. But the movement became unnecessary recently. I mean, like stepping into town, like once I gave up on the worker placement aspect of this, I don't know, honestly it might come back. I wrote down some notes, I'm sure, but I've kind of forgotten why I wanted to transition away from, why I thought it made sense to transition away from that movement. The reason is because the, you know, the, oh no, maybe it was fine. Oh, no. Let's see if I can find my notes here. Let's go into Sugar Shack. I'm not sure I wrote this down. Sugar Shack pawn didn't feel necessary. Remove the pawn and placements on the card. So I was thinking about this. It could be interesting. No. Remove the pawn and placements on the card. So I definitely was thinking about a different action system, but why? Autoplay test. What I'm a little bit afraid of, to be honest, is that that the action token system makes everything available in a weird way. Meaning, okay, let me talk through what I think the system, how I think the system would work. So, be something like, if, let's say this is like tier 1, tier 2, 3, and 4, then it simply costs 1 token to activate this this space, this building. 2 tokens, 3 tokens, and 4 tokens. So in other words, what I could do, is say, well, yeah, like so what that does is create the problem of, do I want to spend 4 tokens on this tier 4 building, or spend 1 token and 3 tokens, or 2 tokens and 2 tokens, or even 2 tokens and 1 token. So what that does though with 4 tokens is it creates maybe way too many options. Like imagine having 4 tokens and being able to play, like to split them up in all possible ways and have to consider that. I think what a test would bear out is if it ever feels like you would ever want to do all of those things. It might not. It might not feel that way. Like it could be obvious what you should be doing and how you should be spending your tokens. Well, so this is back to the big problem of this system, or not. This is not a problem. This is the puzzle. It's how much should each of these buildings be worth? So, for instance, the grant office, because it gives upgrades, and this and the hardware store and used car lot, car dealership, these are all about upgrades. Those should be pretty expensive, I would think. Community projects maybe should be the most expensive because it's now a win condition, right? So it could be that a community project should be up there in tier 4, for instance. If these upgrades are in tier 3, now this is just thinking in terms of like, these are game-changing upgrades. These things fundamentally change. You know what? Maybe the grant office is actually harder to get. So maybe the grant office is in tier 2. But so far we have, where did that go? So far we have something like this, right? The bank is a pretty big deal. I think the bank should be tier 1 and tier 2. I think the bank should be tier 2 and I'll explain that in a second. The gift shop should probably be a higher tier. I want it to be expensive because you'll see on the updated version, this should still be either 3 or 4, probably 3, right? Okay, the town park is going to be a tier 1. The Closerby Market is a tier 1. Syrup Inc. maybe is a tier. Oh, interesting. I kind of like this little 3x3 thing. I kind of like this. And then the community projects is just kind of sticking out on top because it's a win con. So it doesn't really need to be in a normal position where there's like, it doesn't need to be regularly considered, right? So I think I can stick the upgrades here in the middle. I like this. So okay, so back to the question of like why the bank should be a tier 2. This is a detail that probably won't matter to you, but it matters to me. I am kind of bummed that Facebook dropped. YouTube's still going strong. You know what? I do think eventually this makes sense. I like bringing in Facebook just because I started with this idea of just having an update for my friends and family. Like, this is a way that I'm using my time. But eventually, you know, once I'm, you know, sticking with it, and you know, and if I'm able to continue, and if there is such a thing as building an audience for this kind of thing, I feel like YouTube and Twitch are a better fit. So, so it's a little sad to me to lose Facebook, but I guess the goal ultimately will be, you know, especially if I can transition to doing game design full time, I'd love to bring people in on this process. So, anyway, it's cool that for right now this is working really well for YouTube and Twitch today. Today. Anyway, okay, so the opposite side of the bank. So it should be meaningful. It should be a meaningful expense to take a loan, first of all. But then the opposite side of the bank is, for now, it is the town festival, which might need to change. Place one bottle here to interact with any town location as if your pawn was there. So suddenly, that becomes the easy way. That becomes the easy way to make community projects happen. In fact, I think what would happen here is players would rush to this spot, and they would use up all of these. They'd use up all of these locations, like immediately. This would be absolutely the one thing you would have to do in the game. I don't like that, but at least putting it up in tier 2 means it's going to cost. It's going to be half price. Unless I say, well, actually, I think I just thought of a way to keep that from happening. And that is, if community projects, that's not a building, right? So interact with any town location. So if I have a way of showing that one of these, that, you know, these 9 are buildings, because this is a gift shop, these, you know, this is the hardware store, etc. Everything else, the town park, I guess, is a kind of location too. Everything else is the location. So, so the only thing that's not is these projects, right? So if they were like, if there was a different background color, or if I just specify everything but the community projects. The reason I would do that is because I don't like this idea of players just rushing to to the festival card so that they could take up spots in the community projects. You know what? By that late in the game, I think it's the third round that the bank flips. Yeah, it's the third round. So there will definitely already have been. Yeah, there will have already been some attempts, some you know, some progress here on the community projects. I suspect so anyway. Because if you don't take those low cost projects, you're in big trouble, I think. You're in really big trouble. Like if you let your opponent take the 10 and 11, that's tough for you, because you're just gonna have to defend like all the time. I think that's what we discovered. Pretty sure that's what we discovered last time, or like with some of the self-play tests. I like this 3x3 grid. One of the things that I'm kind of starting to lose though is the variability. So if, for example, because I just don't think. I don't mind this as a tier 1 card. So how would this change? How does the, what is it called, SERP Inc. change? What I think could work here is yeah, what I think might work is that, because this has been a confusing one. This one has been kind of hard to teach. Because I think it wasn't even working well, I mean, as a system in general, because it was kind of like remove all cubes from the game. So you could like basically reset this. You had to reset these placements, like remove cubes. Like if the opponent had claimed these two spots, remove the cubes and then place. You may leave up to one item. Well, that item. Oh, that's weird. Oh. Yeah. So that I didn't know how to represent this because I think people kind of thought they could go back and add a bottle. Let's say they had placed a single bottle here before, so they took up this spot, and that means that every turn they're earning one money. Then maybe they could come back and take up this spot, which means they're going to earn an additional money. Or do they think they're earning 3 money total? Right? Okay, I just had a thought. And it was something about a building or a type of building that accrues tokens. Interesting. That's crazy. I feel like I'm kind of zoning out on this idea. I need need to think about when and how a building could accrue tokens. Because you would not want to let that go for very long. You know what I just realized? I kind of want. I think you should start with fewer action tokens. I think you should. And the reason is because now, this is not what I want. I almost think you should start with 2 action tokens. Oh, that's tough. I think, let me write this down. As long as there are ways of gaining action tokens in town, I think players should start with fewer tokens. And so for instance, for example, the vehicles should give 2 and 3 tokens, depending on whether vehicle should give 2, then 3 tokens. Yeah, like when it's upgraded, then it would flip and give 3 tokens. I like that. Because here's what I was just thinking. If you... There can be a card now that accrues tokens. One every turn. It feels like you would have to go there. You would have to go there. So I'm wondering if there's another trigger to add tokens. That's what I'm considering. So I want to add a building that can accrue tokens. It should accrue them upon a trigger. And so what this is, what I just realized is it should be that you take an action that essentially makes that a token available to the other player. So this is a new kind of cost. So you can take that action, but you're risking giving the other player a more powerful turn. So unless they choose not to go there, and then you could jump in and take that token. Becomes a really expensive action because of the risk of giving the other player that token. At the same time, what I just realized is you could go activate the building that got the token. Could also be a chain reaction where you take the first action and save up enough tokens to take the action to activate the building that gives you the token you just added. You could do that, but maybe it'd be useful to make that impossible. I'm not too sure. That's a thought, though. Revisited Sugar Shack this morning. So the 3x3 grid that rearranged the town. So I'm going to screenshot that. Where did that go? So it's here. Okay, let me screenshot this. Okay, I'll drop this in. Oh, you know, it was a really fun moment. Last night I went to Walmart to do a little shopping, and I met this guy Ross, who I know from Moanalua High School. He's the guy, the custodian that gave me a song that has whistling in it. I saw him there when I went in right at the entrance, I saw Ross, and we talked for like 10 minutes. Got to know him a little bit. Cool guy. It's just like you never know. You never know how interesting people are, right? You just never know. So he was like a lineman or some, not line, like a, almost like an electrician, but placing, I think, fiber optic cable for some some telecom company on the mainland. So that was kind of cool, to kind of learn more about that. Anyway, very sweet guy. Saw him last night at Walmart. It looks like we hit an hour here together. So thanks so much for joining. And maybe Facebook will work again next time. But anyway, mostly I'm just stoked to make progress on these projects. And yeah, I'm going to take a few more notes here. But for now, that's it for me. And I will see you soon.